The emergency bay's proximity alarms were screaming when Dr. Ethan Blake arrived at Research Station Meridian's Dock 7, his coffee still hot and his expectation of a quiet morning thoroughly shattered. The twisted wreckage of an Avirian transport hung in the station's gravitational field like a broken bird, its biomechanical hull split along stress fractures that suggested a catastrophic system failure rather than simple pilot error. "What's the damage assessment?" Ethan asked Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sarah Chen, who was coordinating the emergency response with the efficiency of someone who'd handled too many crash landings. "One survivor, conscious but injured. Avirian female, appears to be suffering from significant wing trauma. Transport's biosystems are completely fried. Whatever happened out there, it pushed her ship beyond all safety parameters." Ethan nodded, already analyzing the wreckage's biomechanical components with the focused intensity that made him the station's go-to expert on alien engineering systems. Avirian technology fascinated him. The seamless integration of organic growth and mechanical precision created machines that were essentially alive, capable of self-repair and adaptation that human engineering could barely comprehend. "Has she said anything about what happened?" "Only that she's useless cargo and we shouldn't waste medical resources on temporary repairs." Chen's expression suggested professional frustration with uncooperative patients. "She keeps insisting she'll be gone on the next transport cycle anyway." They found Lixa in Medical Bay 3, perched awkwardly on an examination table designed for human physiology while trying to fold her damaged left wing against her back. The injury was immediately apparent. A complex fracture where biomechanical flight interfaces met organic bone structure, creating a twisted mess of severed neural connections and bent metal components that looked painful and intricate. "Miss Lixa." Ethan approached carefully, noting how she held herself with the rigid posture of someone managing significant pain. "I'm Dr. Blake, station engineer. I specialize in biomechanical systems." "You are wasting your time," she replied without looking up, her voice carrying the flat resignation of someone who'd accepted defeat. "Avirian medical assessment indicates irreparable damage to primary flight interfaces. I am grounded permanently." Ethan studied her wing structure with professional interest, noting the elegant way organic neural networks integrated with mechanical flight controls through biometal interfaces that seemed to grow rather than being manufactured. "Mind if I take a closer look? I might see something your medical assessment missed." "There is nothing to miss. Biomechanical integration failure is not reparable with current technology." "Current Avirian technology," Ethan corrected gently. "Human engineering approaches problems differently." Lixa finally met his eyes, and Ethan saw something there that made his chest tighten, not just physical pain, but the deeper hurt of someone who'd been told they were broken beyond fixing. "Your species lacks the understanding of biomechanical integration. What Avirian expertise cannot repair, human knowledge certainly cannot address." "Maybe. But I'd like to try anyway, if you'll let me." "Why would you waste effort on someone who provides no value to station operations?" The question hit Ethan with unexpected force. He'd heard about Avirian culture's emphasis on individual productivity and flight capability, but experiencing their casual dismissal of injured people was something else entirely. "Because fixing things is what I do," he said simply. "And you're not cargo, useless or otherwise. You're a person who deserves medical attention regardless of your current flight status." Lixa's expression shifted slightly, as if the concept of worth beyond functionality was foreign but intriguing. "Human cultural values are unusual. Yeah, we're weird that way. We tend to think people have value just for existing, not just for what they can do." With her permission, Ethan began a detailed examination of her wing structure, using his tablet to record biomechanical interface points while asking questions about normal function and current limitations. The damage was extensive but fascinating: severed neural pathways that controlled flight surfaces, bent biometal struts that provided structural support, and disrupted energy flow through organic circuits that powered the entire system. "This is remarkable engineering," he murmured, documenting the seamless integration of living tissue and mechanical components. "The neural interface density is incredible. How do you control so many individual flight surfaces simultaneously? We do not control them consciously. Biomechanical integration allows neural impulses to translate directly into mechanical response through quantum-entangled biometal matrices. Quantum entanglement in biological systems. Ethan looked up from his scanner. That's theoretically possible but practically impossible by human standards. Possible by a virion evolution spanning millions of years. Ethan continued his examination with growing excitement, recognizing engineering principles that human technology was only beginning to explore. Lixa, I think your medical assessment might have been premature. Virion biomechanical experts have studied this injury extensively. Repair requires regrowing neural pathways while simultaneously rebuilding quantum-entangled biometal interfaces. Current technology cannot achieve both objectives simultaneously. Current Virion technology. The bioengineering lab felt like a cross between an operating theater and a spacecraft hangar as Ethan set up monitoring equipment around Lixa's extended wing. 3 days of detailed analysis had revealed that her irreparable injury was actually a complex puzzle requiring innovative solutions rather than impossible miracles. The quantum entanglement disruption is the primary obstacle, Lixa explained, indicating biometal interfaces that glowed faintly blue when she attempted flight movements. Neural impulses reach the biomechanical boundary but cannot translate into mechanical response due to severed quantum pathways. But the neural pathways themselves are mostly intact, Ethan observed, studying his scanner readings. The damage is concentrated at the interface points rather than throughout the entire system. Correct. However, biometal quantum entanglement cannot be artificially recreated. The molecular bonds form during organic growth over years, not through technological intervention. Ethan pulled up holographic displays showing both Virion biotechnology and human mechanical engineering approaches to similar problems. What if we didn't try to recreate the quantum entanglement? What if we bypassed it entirely? That is impossible. Flight control requires instantaneous neural-to-mechanical translation. Any delay would result in loss of stability. Any significant delay, yes. But what about minimal delay using quantum processing buffers? Lixa stared at the holographic displays as Ethan outlined human approaches to biomechanical interface problems. You propose to create artificial quantum processing systems that mimic natural biometal function? I propose to create hybrid systems that combine the best of both our technologies. Human quantum processors interfacing with your existing neural networks. Has this approach been tested? Not on Virion biosystems. But human neural interface technology has been successfully integrated with mechanical prosthetics for decades. Lixa was quiet for several minutes, processing implications that went far beyond her personal injury. Such integration would represent unprecedented interspecies technological collaboration. Yeah, it would. Is that a problem? It is, unprecedented. Ethan noted the careful way she avoided answering directly. Lixa, what happens when you return to Virion space with permanent flight disability? Her posture stiffened slightly. Individuals with significant functional limitations are reassigned to ground-based support roles. Resource allocation for non-flight capable personnel is minimal but adequate for basic survival. Adequate for basic survival sounded like bureaucratic language for barely enough to keep you alive, but Ethan didn't voice that observation. What about your current work? What were you doing before the crash? Atmospheric survey and analysis. Mapping weather patterns for agricultural optimization and resource management. Her voice carried the enthusiasm of someone discussing genuinely important work. I specialized in high-altitude data collection requiring extended flight endurance. Work you can't do anymore with conventional Virion technology. Correct. But work you might be able to do with hybrid human Virion technology. Lixa's expression shifted as she began to understand that repair might mean more than just regaining mobility, it might mean reclaiming purpose. You believe such integration could restore full flight capability? I believe it could restore flight capability. Whether it's exactly the same as before or something new entirely remains to be seen. Something new. Ethan highlighted specific components in his repair proposal. Human quantum processors are more robust than natural biometal interfaces. They don't have the same elegant integration, but they offer advantages in processing speed and environmental resistance. You are suggesting that repair might result in improved capability rather than merely restored function? I'm suggesting that sometimes fixing something broken creates opportunities to make it better than it was before. Lixa studied the holographic displays with growing fascination. This approach would require precise calibration between human mechanical systems and Avirian neural networks. Which is why I need your expertise as much as you need human engineering. This isn't something I can do to you, it's something we'd have to do together. Together? Collaborative engineering. Your understanding of biomechanical integration combined with human technological approaches. Neither of us knows enough individually, but together we might figure it out. The concept seemed to surprise her more than the technical challenges. Avirian medical procedures are typically performed by specialists upon patients. Collaborative repair between species is unprecedented, Ethan finished. Yeah, we seem to be specializing in that. Dr. Blake, if this repair succeeds, the implications extend far beyond individual medical treatment. How so? It would represent proof that interspecies technological integration is possible. That human and Avirian capabilities can be combined rather than merely compared. Ethan considered this while reviewing his repair timeline estimates. Is that significant politically? It is significant in every way that matters. Avirian culture values technological superiority and self-sufficiency. Accepting assistance from another species, especially for something we consider impossible, challenges fundamental cultural assumptions. What about accepting collaboration from another species for something neither of us could achieve alone? Lixa was quiet again, clearly processing concepts that went beyond technical repair into cultural and philosophical territory. That would be different. Different how? Different in ways that might change how Avirians think about technological development and interspecies cooperation. Is that good or bad? It is unprecedented. Ethan couldn't help smiling at her repeated use of that word. You know, unprecedented doesn't automatically mean impossible. Sometimes it just means first time. Human perspective on unprecedented developments is notably more optimistic than Avirian approaches. We tend to think that if something hasn't been done before, that's more reason to try it, not less. Even when failure could result in permanent consequences. Especially then. Because the alternative is accepting permanent consequences without trying to change them. Lixa looked down at her damaged wing, then back at the holographic repair proposals. Dar. Blake, if we proceed with this collaborative repair approach, what would be required from me beyond medical consent? Technical expertise, patience with experimental procedures, and willingness to help me understand biomechanical systems I've only studied theoretically. And what would be required from you? Engineering innovation, persistence when initial approaches fail, and willingness to help you understand that being broken doesn't make you worthless. You believe my worth is independent of my functional capability? I believe your worth is evident in your expertise, your intelligence, and your willingness to push a damage. The repair laboratory had evolved into something resembling a mad scientist's workshop crossed with a precision medical facility, with biomechanical components, quantum processors, and neural interface equipment arranged in configurations that would have confused engineers from both species. Ethan had spent 2 weeks developing integration protocols while Lixa provided detailed analysis of Avirian biosystems, their collaboration creating solutions neither could have conceived individually. Neural pathway mapping is complete, Lixa announced, reviewing holographic displays that showed her wing's nervous system in intricate detail. Quantum interface points have been identified and calibrated for human processor integration. Processing buffer synchronization is running at 97% efficiency, Ethan replied, making final adjustments to quantum processing units designed to bridge the gap between organic neural impulses and mechanical flight responses. Not perfect, but close enough for field testing. Field testing. Controlled flight simulation first, then carefully monitored actual flight if the simulation succeed. Lixa's expression carried a mixture of excitement and terror that Ethan had come to recognize as her standard response to unprecedented possibilities. Dr. Blake, what is the probability of successful integration? Based on theoretical models and simulation data? About 73%. And the probability of catastrophic failure resulting in total loss of wing function? About 12%. Leaving 15% probability of outcomes between success and catastrophic failure. Partial success, complications requiring additional procedures, or functional improvement in unexpected areas. Lixa studied their work with the analytical intensity she brought to all complex problems. 2 weeks of collaboration had revealed remarkable intelligence behind her resigned demeanor, along with innovative approaches to biomechanical integration that impressed even Ethan's engineering-focused perspective. Dr. Blake, I must ask you something that may seem inappropriate. Go ahead. Why are you investing so much effort in my repair? Station records indicate you have 17 other projects requiring your engineering expertise. Ethan looked up from his processor calibrations to meet her eyes directly. Because those 17 other projects will still be there next week. But your chance to fly again is happening right now. That does not answer my question. Why does my flight capability matter to you personally? The question caught Ethan off guard with its directness. 2 weeks of working together had created easy professional rapport, but they'd avoided discussing personal motivations behind their collaboration. Honestly? Because watching someone accept that they're broken bothers me more than technical challenges do. You are motivated by emotional response rather than scientific curiosity. I'm motivated by both. The engineering problems are fascinating, but the real reason I'm doing this is because you shouldn't have to spend the rest of your life believing you're useless. Lixa was quiet for several minutes, apparently processing concepts that still seemed foreign to her cultural background. Human emotional investment in other individuals' welfare is notable. Human belief that everyone deserves a chance to be their best self is fundamental to who we are. Even when those individuals are from different species with different cultural values. Especially then. Some things transcend species boundaries. Such as the right to be valued for more than just your productivity. The right to hope for better outcomes when circumstances go wrong. The right to have someone believe in your worth even when you don't believe in it yourself. Lixa's damaged wing twitched involuntarily, and Ethan noted the movement with professional interest and personal satisfaction. Retained neural function continued improving as inflammation decreased and her natural healing processes addressed what they could repair without technological intervention. Dr. Blake, if this repair succeeds, what happens afterward? Afterward, you have functional wings again and can return to atmospheric survey work. I mean, what happens to our collaboration? To the human-Avirian technological integration we have developed? Ethan paused in his calibration work, realizing he'd been so focused on the immediate repair that he hadn't considered longer-term implications. I suppose that depends on whether you think this kind of interspecies engineering collaboration has value beyond individual medical treatment. I believe it has extraordinary value. The integration techniques we have developed could revolutionize biomechanical repair for both our species. Then maybe we continue working together. Maybe we find ways to combine human and Avirian approaches to other engineering challenges. That would require long-term collaboration between individuals from different species working on unprecedented technological development. That would require exactly what we've been doing for the past 2 weeks. Lixa smiled, the first genuine smile Ethan had seen from her since the crash. You make unprecedented developments sound routine. You make biomechanical integration sound simple. I guess we're both good at making complicated things seem manageable. Dr. Blake, I must confess something that may surprise you. What's that? These past 2 weeks of collaborative engineering have been the most intellectually stimulating and personally satisfying work I have ever experienced. Even though we're basically performing experimental surgery on your own body. Especially because of that. For the first time since my injury, I feel valuable not despite my limitations but because of how those limitations have created opportunities for innovation. Ethan felt something warm settle in his chest as he realized what she was describing. You're talking about finding purpose in unexpected places. I am talking about discovering that broken things can become the foundation for building something better than what existed before. That's a very human way of thinking about problems. Perhaps human ways of thinking about problems have merit that a Virian culture has not adequately appreciated. They spent the next hour running final system checks and integration tests, their conversation flowing between technical details and philosophical observations about collaboration, worth, and the difference between fixing things and improving them. Dr. Blake, Lixa said as they prepared for the first live integration test, regardless of outcome, I want you to know that this experience has changed how I think about my own value and the possibilities for interspecies cooperation. How so? I began this process believing I was broken beyond repair. I now understand that I was simply incomplete in ways that required different approaches to wholeness. And the interspecies cooperation part? I have learned that combining different ways of understanding problems creates solutions that neither approach could achieve independently. Ethan activated the quantum processing interface while Lixa prepared for neural integration testing. Ready to find out if theory translates into practice. Ready to discover whether unprecedented developments can become routine successes. As biomechanical systems came online and quantum processors synchronized with organic neural networks, both Ethan and Lixa held their breath. Weeks of preparation, innovation, and collaboration were about to be tested in the most direct way possible. Some repairs, Ethan realized, were about more than restoring original function. Sometimes the most important thing you could fix was someone's faith in their own possibilities. The integration chamber hummed with quantum processing energy as Lixa extended her repaired wing for the first comprehensive function test. 3 weeks of collaborative engineering had led to this moment, the first attempt at controlled flight using hybrid human-Avirian biomechanical systems. Neural interface synchronization at 98%, Ethan reported, monitoring quantum processor output while Lixa ran through pre-flight neural pathway checks. Mechanical response time averaging 43 milliseconds. That is faster than my original biomechanical integration, Lixa said, surprise evident in her voice as she tested individual flight surface controls. Natural biometal interfaces averaged 60 to 70 milliseconds response time. Human quantum processors don't have organic processing delays. The trade-off is less elegant integration, but the performance benefits are significant. Lixa attempted a complex sequence of flight adjustments. Micro-corrections that required precise coordination between dozens of individual control surfaces. The hybrid system responded flawlessly, creating wing configurations that would have been impossible with her original biomechanics. Dr. Blake, this is remarkable. I am achieving flight surface precision I have never experienced before. How does it feel? Any discomfort or integration difficulties? It feels. She paused, searching for adequate description. It feels like discovering I have been flying with substantial limitations I never realized existed. Ethan couldn't suppress his grin as weeks of theoretical work translated into practical success. Ready for actual flight testing? Yes. Though I confess significant nervousness about the outcome. Nervousness is normal. We're doing something that's never been done before. The flight chamber was designed for Avirian physiology. A vast space with variable atmospheric conditions and holographic obstacle courses for testing flight capability under different circumstances. Lixa positioned herself at the launch platform while Ethan monitored her biomechanical integration from the observation deck. Beginning basic flight sequence, she announced, extending both wings and activating lift systems. The moment she left the platform, both she and Ethan realized something extraordinary had occurred. Her flight wasn't just restored, it was enhanced. The hybrid systems provided control precision and stability that exceeded anything natural Avirian biomechanics could achieve. Lixa, your flight performance is showing improvements across all measured categories, Ethan called through the communication system. Speed, maneuverability, endurance, precision control, everything's testing above Avirian baseline standards. I can feel the difference, she replied, executing complex maneuvers with ease that would have challenged her original capabilities. The integration has not simply restored function, it has created new possibilities. For the next hour, they ran comprehensive flight tests that confirmed what initial measurements suggested. The human-Avirian hybrid system represented a genuine breakthrough in biomechanical integration. LIXA's capabilities now exceeded anything possible with purely organic or purely mechanical approaches. Dr. Blake, she said after landing, her voice carrying wonder and something deeper, what have we accomplished here? We've proven that interspecies technological collaboration can create results that surpass what either species could achieve independently. We have created something unprecedented. We've created something that started as medical necessity and became technological revolution. LIXA folded her wings carefully, noting how the human-designed components integrated seamlessly with her natural biomechanics. The implications for both our species are extraordinary. The implications for you personally are what matter most to me. What do you mean? You're not just functional again, LIXA. You're better than functional. You're exceptional. She stared at him as if the concept of personal exceptionalism was entirely foreign. I am exceptional. You're probably the most capable flyer in Avirian space now. Definitely the only one with hybrid biomechanical systems. And this matters to you because 3 weeks ago you believed you were useless, and now you're quite possibly the most advanced example of biomechanical integration in known space. LIXA sat down heavily, apparently overwhelmed by the magnitude of change in her circumstances. Dr. Blake, I must tell you something. Go ahead. When I crashed here, I had accepted that my life's purpose was finished. I believed my injury meant I would spend whatever years remained as a burden on Avirian society, consuming resources while contributing nothing of value. And now I understand that my injury created opportunities for innovation that would not have existed otherwise. That collaboration between our species has produced results neither could have achieved alone. Ethan settled beside her, noting how her repaired wing moved with fluid precision even at rest. So what happens next? That depends on what you believe should happen next. I believe you should return to atmospheric survey work with capabilities that will revolutionize how Avirians think about flight performance. And what about our collaboration? What about the technological integration we have developed together? What would you like to happen with our collaboration? LIXA was quiet for several minutes, apparently wrestling with decisions that went far beyond technical considerations. Dr. Blake, when I return to Avirian space, I will be required to report on my treatment and recovery. Of course. My reports will document successful interspecies technological collaboration that produced results superior to what Avirian medical science could achieve independently. That's accurate. Such reports will likely generate significant interest in continuing human-Avirian collaborative research. Probably. Which would require ongoing cooperation between our species, possibly including permanent research exchange programs. Ethan began to understand where her thoughts were leading. You're talking about long-term collaboration between human and Avirian engineers. I am talking about the possibility that my individual medical treatment could become the foundation for broader interspecies technological cooperation. Is that something you'd want to be involved with? Dr. Blake, working with you these past weeks has been the most intellectually stimulating and personally meaningful experience of my life. The prospect of continuing such collaboration is what? Is something I want more than I have ever wanted anything, including my original flight capabilities. Ethan felt his heart rate increase as he realized what she was describing. LIXA, are you saying you'd want to stay here and continue working together? I am saying that returning to Avirian space feels like abandoning the most important work I have ever been part of. And staying here? Staying here feels like choosing a future instead of accepting a fate. But your atmospheric survey work, your career in Avirian space. My atmospheric survey work could be enhanced by human technological approaches. My career. 6 months later, the Biomechanical Integration Laboratory had become the most requested research facility on Meridian Station, with engineers from 12 different species applying for collaborative opportunities. Dr. Ethan Blake and Dr. Lixa had developed integration protocols that revolutionized biomechanical repair across multiple species, their hybrid human-aviarian technology becoming the gold standard for complex neuromechanical interfaces throughout the galaxy. Integration success rate is holding steady at 94% across all tested species, Lixa reported during their weekly progress review, her enhanced wings folded comfortably as she reviewed holographic data displays. Request queue now extends 18 months for non-emergency procedures. Not bad for something that started as experimental surgery on a crash victim, Ethan replied, updating their research timeline while noting how naturally she moved through the laboratory they'd redesigned together. Any word from the Avirian Medical Council about formal collaboration protocols? Commander Thex arrived this morning with authorization for permanent research exchange program. Avirian High Command has officially classified our work as strategically beneficial interspecies technological advancement. That's a significant upgrade from unprecedented diplomatic incident. Avirian bureaucracy requires time to process concepts that challenge established cultural frameworks. Ethan looked up from his data analysis as something in her tone caught his attention. Everything okay? You sound like there's more to this update. Lixa set down her tablet and turned to face him directly. Commander Thex brought formal orders requesting my return to Avirian space for advanced research position developing hybrid biomechanical systems for military applications. The news hit Ethan like a physical blow. 6 months of working together had created not just professional partnership but personal connection that had become the foundation of both their lives. The prospect of losing that collaboration felt like losing an essential part of himself. That's an incredible opportunity, he managed, trying to keep his voice professionally neutral. Advanced research position, military applications, chance to revolutionize Avirian technology on a grand scale. Yes. It represents everything I was trained to consider optimal career advancement. But optimal career advancement assumes that individual advancement matters more than collaborative achievement. Ethan felt something loosen in his chest as he recognized the careful way she was approaching this conversation. And you don't think individual advancement matters most? I think what we have built together matters more than what either of us could build separately. Lixa, you can't turn down a position like that because of professional attachment to our research projects. I am not considering refusing this position because of professional attachment. Then why? She moved closer, and Ethan noticed how her enhanced wings created subtle aerodynamic adjustments even in the laboratory's controlled environment, unconscious optimization that demonstrated how thoroughly the hybrid systems had integrated with her natural physiology. Because home isn't where you achieve optimal career advancement, she said quietly. Home is where your contributions are valued, your growth is encouraged, and your presence makes both individuals and projects better than they could be alone. Home. 6 months ago, I crashed here believing I was broken beyond repair. You didn't just fix my wings, Ethan. You showed me that being broken was just being incomplete in ways that required different approaches to wholeness. That was collaboration, not charity. Exactly. You treated me as an equal partner whose expertise was valuable, not as a damaged individual requiring assistance. Ethan realized they were having a conversation that went far beyond professional decisions or career opportunities. Lixa, what are you saying? I am saying that Commander Thex's offer represents returning to a culture that would value my enhanced capabilities while dismissing the collaborative process that created them. That considers my worth based on what I can produce rather than who I choose to produce it with. And staying here represents choosing partnership over prestige. Choosing to build something remarkable with someone who sees collaboration as strength rather than compromise. Someone. You, Ethan. I want to stay here because working with you has become more important to me than any career advancement the Avirian military could offer. The laboratory fell silent except for the hum of quantum processors and the distant sounds of station operations. Ethan found himself looking at Lixa with new understanding, not just as a brilliant colleague or successful research partner, but as someone whose presence had become essential to his own sense of purpose and belonging. "Lixa," he said carefully, "are you sure this isn't just gratitude for medical treatment or attachment to familiar circumstances? I am sure this is recognizing that some partnerships create possibilities neither person could achieve alone, and some collaborations become more important than individual ambitions. Even when those individual ambitions represent everything your culture trained you to value. Especially then. Because staying here means choosing who I want to become rather than accepting who I was expected to be." Ethan considered the magnitude of what she was describing. Giving up prestigious career advancement to continue collaborative research that had become personally meaningful rather than just professionally successful. "What would you tell Commander Thex?" "That my research requires ongoing collaboration with human engineering expertise, and that relocating to a Virian space would compromise the integration protocols we have developed together." "That's technically accurate. That's completely accurate. These hybrid systems work because they combine different approaches to the same problems. Separating the collaboration would diminish the research effectiveness." "And personally? What would you tell Commander Thex about your personal reasons for staying?" Lixa smiled, the confident expression she'd developed over months of successful collaboration and restored self-worth. "I would tell him that I have found something worth more than optimal career advancement. Which is a place where being broken led to building something better. A partnership that values innovation over tradition. A future built on possibilities rather than limitations. And someone who sees your worth. And someone who helped me see my own worth. Someone who taught me that the most important repairs aren't just about restoring original function, they're about creating new possibilities that didn't exist before." Ethan felt everything shift into place as he realized what they'd built together had transcended professional collaboration to become something neither had planned but both had chosen. "Lixa, what happens if you stay? What do we build next?" "We build the first permanent interspecies biomechanical research facility. We develop integration protocols that help individuals from any species optimize their capabilities. We prove that collaboration creates results that competition never could." "That sounds like changing the world. That sounds like exactly what we've been doing for 6 months, just on a larger scale." "And personally? What do we build personally?" "We build whatever we want to build. Partnership that matters more than protocol. Collaboration that feels like coming home." 6 months ago, Ethan had set out to repair damaged wing mechanics and discovered that some repairs fixed much more than broken machinery. They fixed broken assumptions about worth, possibility, and what could be achieved when different approaches to the same problems combined forces. Some collaborations, he'd learned, started as medical necessity and evolved into something that transcended professional partnership to become personal transformation. "Commander Thex is going to be disappointed," he said. "Commander Thex will survive. The important question is whether you're willing to continue building unprecedented things with someone who chooses to stay rather than someone who feels obligated to leave. I can't think of anything I'd rather build than a future with someone who sees possibilities where others see problems. Even when those possibilities require explaining to both our species why interspecies collaboration matters more than individual advancement. Especially then. Someone has to show them that the best things happen when different ways of thinking about problems work together." As they began planning their response to Commander Thex and designing the next phase of their collaborative research, Ethan realized that fixing Lixa's wings had been just the beginning. The real project had been building something neither of them could have imagined alone, a partnership that proved broken things could become the foundation for creating something better than what existed before. Some repairs, he'd discovered, fixed entire futures. And some collaborations became the kind of home worth choosing over everything else. 3 weeks later, when Lixa officially declined the Avirian military position to continue their collaborative research, both species began to understand that sometimes the most important diplomatic developments happen not in formal negotiations, but in individual choices to build something remarkable together. The biomechanical integration laboratory became proof that broken things could be transformed into possibilities, that different approaches to the same problems created solutions neither could achieve alone, and that sometimes the most important choice was deciding where you belonged rather than where you were expected to go. And for Ethan and Lixa, belonging had become wherever their collaboration could continue building unprecedented things that mattered more than individual ambition or cultural expectations. Some partnerships, they'd learned, were worth choosing over everything else.